Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Throwaway and Panic. My boyfriend, male 25, won't ask for my hand, and my dad, male 48, is staging a family boycott of my wedding. Is my boyfriend being selfish? I've been with my boyfriend, male 25, for 3 years. We both just finished school and are finally ready for marriage. He proposed last week and I happily said yes. I could not be happier. I love him and he is going to be an awesome dad someday. But my boyfriend is very new school and my dad is kind of old school. My dad was beyond mad that my boyfriend did not ask him for my hand before proposing. My dad said he was willing to hear my boyfriend's apology if my boyfriend formally asks for my hand at a dinner that my dad said he will pay for at the restaurant of my boyfriend's choosing. My dad feels like he is very accommodating. He will bring my boyfriend's favorite wine to celebrate. I spoke to my boyfriend last night and he won't budge. He doesn't believe in that tradition. My boyfriend showed me an article online where a Pakistani woman was stoned to death outside of a courthouse because she married a man against her family's wishes. My boyfriend, who witnessed his father be abusive and possessive with his mom as a child, has always felt strongly that women are not property. He thinks the tradition of asking for my hand is repulsive. His point is that he's met my whole family and gotten to know them. He says they have always known his intention and he never made it secret that he was in love with me and wanted to marry me and have children. He feels he has done enough to announce his intentions and all of them seemed to approve of him. He says that at this point he only needs my approval to marry him and nobody else's. So yesterday, my mom told me that my dad, who is not even speaking to me because I won't set my foot down with my boyfriend, is calling the whole family and telling them to not attend my wedding. My mom says that my boyfriend is the one treating me like property by not letting me have a say in his decision to not observe a tradition that my two older sisters' husbands observed. I told my mother that I understand where my boyfriend is coming from and that I have decided to do away with the tradition of him asking for my hand. So my mother is obviously mad and said that I should be ready for serious consequences. I asked her what and she would not say, but from talking to my sister, she said that they would blackball us from all family gatherings. My two sisters and my mom have told me my boyfriend is being selfish. The wedding is in 10 weeks. I'm worried that nobody in my family will attend my wedding. Well, OP, this totally sucks because it is your and your future husband's wedding. And your parents are gonna mess it up because you're not doing what they wanted. In my opinion, you can have traditions, you can observe traditions, but you can't force other people to follow your traditions. I think you and your boyfriend are right, OP. You guys get to choose what you want to do for the whole process, from getting engaged to married and everything. And sure, your dad might have an idea of how he wished things would happen, but that doesn't mean it's the law and that's the way things need to be done. Now, regarding your wedding being in 10 weeks, let's pretend that you can't change your parents' minds. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna bow down to their will and ask your boyfriend to ask for your hand in marriage? Are you just gonna go on with the wedding without your family there and be a little sad? Or are you just gonna be glad that they're not going because they are kinda toxic? I would say for your mental health, I'd choose the latter and focus on you and your future husband and your wedding. Yeah, it sucks that your family might not be there, but do you really want toxic people at your wedding? And what do you guys think about this whole situation? How would you handle this if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Deleted says, my dad feels like he is being very accommodating. No, both he and your mother are being controlling. They are attempting to make you choose between your fiance and them. Choose your fiance, otherwise you're setting precedent for this type of behavior or interference for the rest of your marriage. And OP responds, this is what I'm afraid of. My fiance and I don't practice Catholic religion like my family does, so I wonder what will happen when my kids aren't baptized and all that. Emrata says, your family's being kind of rude. Threatening your boyfriend and your wedding because he doesn't want to do a tradition that he has seen as harmful is rather selfish of them. Your boyfriend is doing the right thing by not asking your father. More to the point, this could have some slippery slope stuff either way. If you caved into your father's demand, it could spiral into more demands and threats because your father would have power over your boyfriend, whether you want that to be the case or not. Blah 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 cakes says, if you and your boyfriend share the same belief that women are not property, then you need to put your foot down with your whole family. Tell them all this is what you are doing. You are marrying this guy and you are hoping they'll all come to the wedding, but you will understand if they don't. If you are arguing in favor of empowering women and no longer being viewed as property, then stand up for yourself and tell everyone how it's going to be. And then, do not engage in any more discussion about it. This is your family and you need to be the one to draw the clear, bright line. You aren't just supporting your fiancé in this argument. You are the one creating the boundary. Good luck. Blade Zire says, yeah, it's one thing to be disapproving because your boyfriend didn't accept a tradition. It is entirely another attempt to ruin your wedding. Repeat, your, read, not their, wedding. Think about this. Your parents are literally demanding control over this event. What if you want to have a supervillain themed wedding? Are they gonna have a problem with that? What if you wear a purple dress and the bridesmaids are in miniskirts with sweaters on? What's the line and why is it where it is? Your parents are attempting to cut you out of the family because they can't get their way on your day. And OP responds, I think my boyfriend's refusal to observe this tradition has proven that it's not just a harmless tradition. I'm starting to see my father as a more manipulative person than I believed. This is changing my view of my parents. I thought there was a chance my boyfriend was wrong, but after writing things out here and reading comments, I'm convincing myself that my boyfriend has to stand his ground. He has to set that precedent and I have to support him to set that precedent. I see no other way. Additional information from OP's comments. So real quick, my parents aren't paying for anything, and even though they're actually wealthy, my dad doesn't support us financially in any way. My boyfriend is also 10 times more successful than my dad, not that that is an issue. Also, we had discussed that he didn't like this tradition many times with me. I always told him that I didn't think it would be a big deal. Then last week when he proposed, I called my parents to tell them the news. Right away, my dad became really mad. He was beside himself on the phone. Yes, he did yell a lot too. My boyfriend has been questioned for a long time by my dad and 2 brothers as to his plans at many family functions. My boyfriend always answered respectfully. He laid out his plans, career, finances, kids, pretty much everything. He would tell them his plans and give timetables where possible. So now my boyfriend feels as though he has put everything on the table for a couple of years in countless interrogations. He doesn't see the need to sit down and go over the same thing with my dad. My boyfriend also finds it weird that my dad always tells the story of how he stole my mother because he was broke and her father wanted her to marry a rich man. So my boyfriend has heard my dad talk about getting married and being completely broke and building from there. So now he doesn't want to be judged about money and plans. It's just gotten too messy. My dad also has a slight problem with me working full-time after marriage. He doesn't bring it up much anymore. He has come a long way in that regard. If my dad is willing to manipulate the whole family to boycott, then maybe it's more than a harmless tradition to my dad. I'm worried it's more than just symbolic to my dad. Why can't he let the rest of the family make up their own minds? This is beginning to worry me that my dad might stage a blacklist every time he disagrees with the decision we make. Especially if we decide our kids won't be Catholic, which is another thing my father feels strongly about. So I don't know if this will be the last time we have this kind of problem. We decided that education is going to be the focus and they will make their own minds up about religion once they are educated adults. I grew up Catholic, but I don't want that for my kids. My husband grew up somewhat Christian and he still believes in God, but he doesn't want religion to be a part of our family either. We have talked about this subject to death. It's very important, but my family doesn't know about this. I have a feeling after this boycott that my parents will stage another one when they found out we won't be Catholic. We won't elope because my boyfriend's family is coming and so are our friends. Also, I don't think my extended family will miss the wedding. I don't see them agreeing with my dad, But my brothers and sisters give in to my dad's request, and I'm sure they will boycott when he tells them to. I'm sure he has told them to already. I know he has. Anyway, I still have my fiance and our future together, so I have a lot to be thankful for. I just need to focus on that. Well, the community agrees with OP and her boyfriend regarding him asking for her hand in marriage. He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. And also OP gave us a lot more context and a lot of what is going in her mind and how she's feeling regarding her family. So now let's move on with the update that is 2 years after the original post, but before that, here's another one of my playlists that I'm sure you'll be able to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on to the update. The wedding went on as planned. My parents stuck to their guns and boycotted. One of my 2 sisters attended and is now happily blacklisted from our family too. Nobody else from my entire family showed up, including my 2 brothers. The wedding was a little unconventional. My sister walked my husband down the aisle and then his sister walked me down the aisle. I wanted this because my sister-in-law actually introduced us and helped me get my first date with him. There was no question about who gives the bride away or even about objections. It was normal other than that. There has been no contact between me and my family other than my one sister. My mother has made it a point to send me a card every time that they have a family gathering for holidays or birthdays at their house to let me know that my father says I'm not invited. I get one almost every month. I don't even read them anymore, I just toss them. I don't know why they keep sending them because I've made no effort to contact them and I live over 3 hours away, so it's not like I will run into them by accident. The reason I came back to post this here after 2 years since my original post is that some people here made a prediction that came true. That they would come crawling back when we had children. I am now expecting our first child, a girl, smiley face. She will be the first grandchild of my parents. My parents found out about the pregnancy a few months ago through a family friend. They didn't waste any time in making demands, not requests, demands. My husband and I are not religious, but I had a Catholic upbringing. I don't practice at all by choice. My mother called me back like 2 months ago telling me that my father wanted our daughter's middle name to be his mother's first name. I said no. My father was listening in on speakers, so I went ahead and told them that they were officially uninvited from all birthdays, graduations, and any other important dates in her life. My father called me half an hour later crying and begging me to come to stay with them for the birth so my mother could care for me. I said no. He also said he had already made arrangements for his priest to baptize her at his church, but that I needed to agree to name her after his mother if I wanted this to happen. He said he'd already planned a big celebration for the wedding and the baptism that he was paying for. I said no to all of it. He went from meekly trying to sweet talk me to raising his voice at me, and I hung up. He called a couple of more times to apologize for losing his temper and again begged me to reconsider giving birth at the hospital near them so they could visit. He denied having any knowledge of my mother sending me cards to uninvite us to any family functions and even said that he specifically asked her to invite us, but he was told I declined every time. He lets my mom do the dirty work so he can later hide behind her and denied he had any knowledge. He's done this since I was a little girl. He does this every time he wants to drop the hammer on somebody, but be the good cop also. He'll never change. He denied having any knowledge of why anybody in the family missed my wedding. I told him our daughter would not be baptized or Catholic at all. No offense to Catholics. I told him he was too manipulative and controlling and I didn't want my daughter exposed to that. He's too toxic and just venomous. Coincidentally, that day and for several days after that phone call, I got tons of calls and emails from my brothers, their wives, my sister, and all my aunts. They all wanted to apologize for missing my wedding and all had specific excuses and wanted to make plans to be there for my daughter's birth. I banned them all from her life until she was old enough to decide for herself to let them in. My husband was a little surprised and not sure about banning everybody forever. He's more leaning towards supervised visits if they want to drive to us. My dad has been calling him like crazy, but we are a united front. My husband is deferring to me, but giving me ideas as to how I can give a little if I decide to. But with my family, there's no giving a little. They want it all. For now, they're all banned. I will reconsider when the youngest of our children turns 18. Smiley face. For now, my dad will have to settle for sucking up to my husband while I stick to my guns. Unlike him, I don't mind owning my decisions, even if it means I'm the bad cop. I'm not ready to give up a relatively drama-free, stress-free life to allow my dad and all his sheep back in our lives. Extended from OP's comments. My sister is happier now than she's ever been. She was blacklisted by my parents also, and she credits the distance from them for her happiness. It took her a long time, like it did me, to realize we had been swimming in contaminated waters all our lives. We're very close. She likes the freedom of my parents not trying to control her every move. Anyways, to those of you that said that all this could have been avoided if my then boyfriend would have just gone through with asking my father, I have to respectfully tell you that you are missing the point. That's a way of oversimplifying things. If my husband would have asked then, my father would have asked us to get married at his church. Then, my husband would have had to convert, which my father suggested by the way. Then, name the baby. Then, have the baby near them. Then, baptize the baby. Then, picking the best school for my children near them. Then, making life decisions for my children. Then, the severe punishment I endured my whole life if my children ever objected to their abusive control issues. My daughter will be better off without a full family of manipulative, controlling, and abusive people, or people who condone such behavior. After years of abuse, I was glad my husband decided my dad's demand that he ask permission to marry me was too antiquated. The original conflict that caused this rift was years of abuse and manipulation. I chose to burn bridges that needed to go. Otherwise, I would never be free to make my own decisions about my own life without consulting with my dad at every turn. Yes, my parents will die someday, as we all will. But being on your deathbed will never absolve you of all the abuse you heaped on me. My husband's stepfather has been more of a father to me in the short years I've known him. He's the one whose deathbed I will be crying on someday. When my father dies, I will be relieved to not have to look over my shoulder to see how he tries to weasel his way into having control over me again. Alright, well, I'm gonna call this a positive and happy update because, well, OP, you are happy. So I guess overdue congratulations for the wedding and the pregnancy. Thank you for sharing, OP, and take care. All the best in the future. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Plogan56. Comply with Bridezilla or leave? Okay. So this all happened a few weeks ago to my good friend Gemma. A longtime friend of Gemma's group was getting married in another state, but on the day of the wedding she suddenly had a problem with one girl who wore glasses, which she didn't have an issue with beforehand. The glasses girl told her she wouldn't wear them during the vows and pictures, but the Bridezilla didn't want her wearing them at all and was screaming at her to not put them on for the rest of the day. Obviously, she couldn't do that since she needs to see. The argument got more heated until Bridezilla gave her the ultimatum to take them off and keep them off or leave. This is when Gemma and the other bridesmaids stepped in and told Bridezilla she was out of line and that they would all leave if she forced the girl with glasses to leave. Bridezilla called their bluff, and being maids of honor, the bridesmaids left the wedding and decided to celebrate and eat at a restaurant before they head back home. Bridezilla called them several times after they left, telling them that she didn't care about the glasses anymore and begged them to come back to the venue. But they not only refused, but also chose to end the friendship with her altogether. Gemma said that the wedding proceeded as normal, just minus the bridesmaids and a few awkward stares because everyone heard the Bridezilla screaming from earlier. Gemma told me that the Bridezilla has always been like this, throwing a tantrum when she doesn't get her way, and that the meltdown at the wedding was just the last straw for them. Personally, I think she's got a monk's patience if she put up with her for that long. Well, she gave them a choice and they chose wisely. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.